27 years later, and Rwanda still remembers and commemorates the over 1 million lives that were lost in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. 2 decades later, and Rwanda has been hailed for its impressive socio-economic transformation, but the journey was not easy. As His Excellency Paul Kagame puts it, the country made 3 choices: to stay together, be accountable, and think big. Today's episode is dedicated to those forever lost, the ones they left behind, and to Rwanda, a nation reborn. Hello and welcome. In the next 13 minutes, you will be with me, Naringwa Fiona Muthoni. Annually, April 7th marks the beginning of the commemoration of the 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi. The National Commemoration Week is from April 7th to the 13th, but continues through the next 100 days. This is not an easy period for many Rwandans who share a common dark history. In Bugesera district, we visited Maria, who shared with us her reconciliation journey. During the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, I lost my 6 children. My husband was from a big family with about 37 close relatives, and today there are only 3 left. I had 9 siblings who were married, each with children, but they all passed away. I fled to Burundi, but I went without knowing if my husband and children were still alive or if they had passed away. Along the way, I did my best to stay alive. I hid in the millet farms for days and nights as I also tried to search for my husband and kids. When the situation got worse, I knew I had to find a way to leave the country immediately. I fled to the neighboring Burundi, and along the way, I rescued 3 children. I stayed hopeful that I may see my family again. A few nights after arriving in Burundi, I got to know that my husband and kids had been killed. I did not understand why they were killed. I had so many questions. The pain was too much for me to bear. As part of Rwanda's plans to bring accountability, the Community Justice Court, commonly known as Gacaca, was approved. It was through these proceedings that Maria got answers to what happened to her family. Before the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, PHILBERT and I were neighbors. Then he was still a very young man. I got to know what he did during Gacaca courts when he confessed to the crimes. Due to the crimes he committed, PHILBERT NTEZIRIZAZA was sentenced to 12 years, and after 6 years, he was among prisoners who were granted presidential pardon. Despite serving time, guilt kept pricking his conscience.
When I was in prison, before I asked for forgiveness, I always thought I would deny the charges because taking the step to agree to the crimes I did in itself is not easy. I was not proud of the things I had done, and I was scared of the consequences. I eventually listened to my heart and came to terms with what I had done. I took a step and asked for forgiveness because I knew what I did was inhuman. There was nothing I could do to bring back the lives I had taken. Asking for forgiveness was the only option I had.
After they agreed to the crimes they committed, and they showed us where they had put the bodies of our loved ones, we gave them a proper burial. Reconciliation and forgiveness did not come easy for both Maria and PHILBERT. The trauma of what had happened weighed Maria down, and she knew the only way to heal her wounds was through forgiveness. I chose to forgive him because I was also tired. We had been taught about forgiveness, but my heart was still very heavy. He had asked for forgiveness, and I decided to pardon him. After I took this decision, I felt very relieved.
Today, I live in a peaceful country, despite what it went through and what we did. I live in harmony with everyone, including those who forgave me.
Rwanda has pushed forward programs aimed at healing wounds and bridging divisions, mainly created by ideologies that were sold to people by the previous regime. PHILBERT emphasizes on the importance of good governance.
The previous government destroyed Rwanda. God protected other leaders who rebuilt the country to what it is today. Rwandans today live peacefully, the country has reconciled, and we are all one people. When you live in a country that is united, it encourages everyone to work hard to build it. But when you live in a divided country, you do everything with self-intentions and in fear.
President Paul Kagame has been hailed for transforming the country through different policies which encouraged rapid economic growth. It was indeed a drastic shift in governance that gave a nation a new voice, purpose, and hope.
Well, the economic growth for the past 27 years, I would say, is a miracle. Somewhere else I've seen it, I think it's in East Asia, something similar to that. For an African economy like ours, landlocked and small like we are, coming from a genocide era, it's a miracle. That's what I can say for this economy of ours.
The country has to reconstruct, starting from the emergence phase and also going to the development phase, which basically it was initiated with the Vision 2020, which is one of the leading documents that set the direction for the government and also for the development of this country. Apart from the Vision 2020, which was showing different aspects in different sectors, we have also the EDPRS, which is the economic poverty reduction strategy, which went through different phases. We have phase 1 and phase 2. And the main focus was basically to reduce poverty, how to deal with poverty that was affecting majority of Rwandans at that period. And we can see the trends, how the poverty has reduced from more than 60% up to 38% currently, when you look at the overall poverty trend. Then we have also other specific policies from each sector. That means from each sector, you could see that there is what we call sector strategic plan that would drive the development of particular sector, taking into account the national development. And we see some specific policies where the government has tried to address issues that were facing the community or citizens. We have, for instance, the social protection policy. This social protection policy has different components where we see, for instance, the 1 cow per poor family, where each family was given a cow to basically revive or revamp the livelihood conditions in all aspects, including nutrition, but also including agriculture.
Coming from our lowest, one of the poorest countries in the world, to the $700, almost $800 per capita is a big achievement for an economy like ours, coming from the ashes of genocide.
The role of aid in Rwanda is also was important in the reconstruction of the country. We cannot ignore the role of different development partners in the country, such as World Bank, IMF. We have seen also different international organizations like FAO, UN Women, and so on. But the most important that I like for Rwanda is how the government has been able to manage, or the governance of that particular aid. Because you see, having the aid or the support is one thing, but secondly, how do you use it strategically to set the different stage for long-term developments? This was key for this country, and this is also a result of the leadership, of good leadership that we observe since the time of 1994, genocide against Tutsi.
Pre the COVID-19 pandemic, Rwanda's economy was thriving, with annual GDP growth averaging at 7.76% between 2000 and 2019. Moreover, the business climate here in Rwanda has continued to improve, and it remains the second easiest place to do business in Africa and is now 38th globally. This is according to the 2020 World Bank Doing Business reports.
Besides stopping genocide, the next biggest thing this country has done is to do that, reconciliation and moving on. You know, you bury the hatches and you look to one single future for yourself. So that adds to stability and security of the people, trusting in their government and their leaders. That's very important. It has translated into all the facets, all the clusters of the economy, people trusting in government and trusting each other and agreeing to forgive each other. That one has really given us a force to reckon with, to work together as one people with one vision.
Once a nation torn apart, today Rwanda is held up as a model state for dignified reconciliation and for rising beyond the horrors of its history. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're with me, Naringwa Fiona Muthoni.